So, welcome back to another episode, and today I can finally talk about something I've mean to talk about for a very long time. One of my favorite old TurboGrafx or PC Engine games. Now, thinking way back to 1987, oh man, those were great times, and looking back at the TurboGrafx and wondering, what is this thing? What is a TurboGrafx? Wait, this is sounding way too Johnny Millennium. I'm being far too nostalgic and heartfelt. I need to change it up or I'm going to owe him some money. I am so sick of all these cum-guzzling jizz dragons blasting me with all their bullshit. Whenever I was younger... Wait, this is too much of an angry rant. I have to remain calm. If I go into an angry rant, I'm going to owe Alpha Omega Sin some money. Hello, thank you for joining me. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the PCFX, one of my favorite systems to collect for. Oh crap, what am I doing? Now I'm channeling my inner Pleongo. I can't come up with an original style. I need something that's entirely my own, or I'm gonna end up in jail.
Chinchillas react to Shenmue.
So, when I first started hearing this whole debacle that was going on with the Fine brothers, I thought maybe people are overreacting. In theory it sounds like their initial intent was not malicious, they're just wanting to protect the brand and the style they created, and they just went about it in just the wrong way, but their initial intent was good. But I completely lost that opinion looking into it more, watching more videos from dozens of YouTubers, as majority of you have, I'm sure. This is probably like one of the last ones you've seen, but particularly looking at things from Review Tech USA, listening to a little bit of that podcast he did, and Alpha Omega Sin's videos, which are just like pure gems, the couple he's done on the Fine Brothers things, and 8-Bit Eric, and just everyone, and listening to things on Twitter and seeing how they pretty much were ready to attack Ellen DeGeneres because how dare she have kids react to old technology. It's gotten to the point where everything that they're saying, their actions are speaking just the complete opposite intention. They say that they are still passionate creators and they're passionate about the little guy and about the YouTube community, yet at the same time this entire program they've created is creating more of a corporatized structure, the total opposite of what YouTube is supposed to be, what it's becoming more of, and just the timing of all these different strikes and flags, and YouTube's already broken system feels like it's finally hitting that point where it's about to crumble, and then they have the horrible timing to pick this moment to launch this thing that really paints them as these greedy, corporatized, monsters that in a way want to just take the term React itself, the style of React, and make it their own. And they say it's not what they're doing, but the point that I was trying to make with those little kind of skit things in the beginning is, where do you draw that line? There's a fine line between someone who's inspired by you, or someone who is completely separate that happens to have a similar style, or someone who is emulating someone they really enjoy and trying to, I don't know, there's just this fine line between that and someone who's completely ripping you off, someone who's a blatant plagiarist, and that's very hard to do in this form. And you can't go around and just try and take down anything that has any similarities whatsoever. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. You can't have in the 70s and 80s TSR going around and saying, nope, no other tabletop role-playing games can exist. Should Snatcher, because of its similarities to, Blade Runner, have been taken off store shelves? No. Should Paramount, with Deep Space Nine, gone and tried to force Babylon 5 off the air because they're very similar shows, despite who inspired who? Paramount and Star Trek were the bigger names, so should they, as the bigger company, just bully that out? No, this stuff should not be. Everything is inspired by something else. Like that chinchilla thing I was showing, if I did something that is an obvious parody, something that's just kind of funny, would they go and attack that as being in competition, as being something too similar to their style, even though it's 100% okay doing definitely an obvious parody of something that they're doing? That's perfectly fine. It's something that would actually kind of be fun to do a Chinchilla's React and to write, dialogue for her, and I'd like to do something like that. That'd be great, but am I going to do it? No way. I don't want to lose my entire channel just because I want to do a funny video with my chinchilla. But it's just that kind of stuff where, that's kind of where it's going, and my hope is that either YouTube has a big crash and has to finally fix these problems that stem beyond something like the Fine Brothers, or we finally have a competitive network that offers what YouTube offers that can really have a lot of people transfer over. And eventually, I do think that's going to happen. I do think within the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to hit a point where a lot of the smaller guys, independent guys, have filtered out into something else in some other form, whether it's like YouTube or not. And YouTube's going to be left with a lot of those people that are just getting paid for reviews, or they're owned by things like Fullscreen and Disney, and they're all just these unstoppable corporate things that you can't really trust just the authenticity of them anymore. I think YouTube is eventually going to become that, and people are going to leave. We already see some of my absolute favorite YouTubers to watch going and doing the Final Boss's website and stuff like that, and that's kind of become a better place to see their content in many ways for a lot of them than YouTube itself. And eventually I think we're going to start seeing stuff like that migrating out. We're either going to see YouTube fix itself or die, and the Fine Brothers are just, what's happening to them is just a perfect example of what's going on with YouTube as a whole and what's wrong with the system. Cum guzzling jizz dragon.